Hi, everyone. I was afraid that my question will be stolen, but it wasn't. Who wants to get promoted? No? Really? Okay, then everyone who doesn't want, then you can just take a break and we'll speak seriously with people who want to. I have some of you, I'm really surprised. I was expecting more hands, but sure. Yes, my name is Viktoria. I'm VP Product and Chief Operating Officer at a company called Product People. I'll tell you in a moment what this company does. And I do want to talk to you about how to get promoted. I'll try to make sure that we have some time for questions at the end, because I think as great as theory is also often about practice, and maybe you have some practical questions. So quickly about me, some things were already mentioned. I have indeed background in neuroscience. I did study biology in my bachelor's and master's and somehow ended up in product, which I hope gives confidence to those who want to switch to product. It's possible. Don't worry, it's gonna work out if you're really interested. I've worked with many different companies, many of them thanks to Product People, which is my current employer. I've been at Product People for almost 5 years now. I'm the employee #1, so it's been a super fun journey. And some of the companies you maybe know, and they were in very, very different fields. Why did I get to work with so many companies through Product People? Is because we are a product management consultancy. We specialize in interim product management, and we provide our product managers to other companies. And I'm very fortunate to have Mike here today because he is one of our clients. Actually, we worked with him 2 different companies already now, so quite happy to have you with positive reviews, I hope, if people ask. Yeah, additionally to having product management consultants, we also have a community where we host weekly webinars on different topics in product management. Do check it out if you're interested. And we also sometimes organize some offline events in different cities. Here are some of the companies we worked with, some of the B2C brands that you probably know. B2B brands are sometimes more tricky to know, but probably you know World Health Organization. What's here interesting as well? Yeah, maybe you heard of some of the others if you work in a specific fields. What we'll talk to you about, or what are the parts of my talk today? There are 5 steps to a promotion. There are 2 things that you should not do, and the rest is question time, just really addressing your concerns with this topic. We start with a short story. It is based on real life, so it's not like the movies where they tell you it's not based. This is based fully on real product managers I've met while working at these different organizations. New PM comes to a company, super excited, new challenges. They were told all the great things about how this is going to be a super interesting role. They have the need to move these metrics. They're, yes, I'm going to do an exciting, excellent job. They're getting in the weeds, moving tickets, releasing things, really do the hard work, and they do move the metrics, and like there are really positive things that happen. Time passes, maybe 2 years in, they think like, well, I've been doing a really good job. Probably I'll get a promotion. I mean, I've done all these great things. I moved the metrics, implemented this request, so that should happen. Oftentimes it doesn't. And somehow nothing happens. No one says anything about it. The line manager says nothing about it. The product managers are thinking, okay, probably they don't really value me here, and they don't want me to be here. I'm not appreciated, and they leave. What's a bit even more sad, that they might be leaving for a higher position at a different company, because that's one of the ways how you can get a higher position. You go shop for new offers and you get something somewhere else, higher salary, maybe higher title. But it's very likely that this will repeat. A new company, they might still be stuck again for a few years in the same level, not getting really higher, and just kind of go through this process. That is a way to do it. I don't want to say that you don't have to stay at one company for very long, but this oftentimes is also very stressful and not necessarily something you want. Maybe you do really like the company you're working on, and just you think that you're ready for something next. You're ready for more responsibility. You want to receive higher salary because you're doing more complicated things now when you started. But why is this not happening then? There are often few obstacles. maybe you actually did not do something that was expected. So maybe there is something about your performance that was not perfect. If you never really aligned with your line manager or higher management what exactly needs to be done, maybe the things that you did were not what they were looking for. That might be the case. Maybe some people just didn't know that you were doing such a great work. Of course, the C-level is happy to see that numbers move and so on, but they don't really think, okay, who needs to be recognized for this work? They don't really think about it unless you make them aware. Also, everyone is busy. Your line manager is busy. It's not like they don't recognize your work, but they did not really think about the promotion. They maybe don't know that's something you're interested in. And there are ways to overcome this. You do need to understand what your management and your line manager also needs and what they want you to do. You need to make your work visible, and you need to help your manager. This is basically already the advice that I would give, but I want to break it down now in more specific steps that you also know how to successfully land this promotion. Let's go into the practical part with that. First, a little bit of the alignment on how we think about promotion. I think it is important to realize that promotion is not, or it should not be really a way to reward people for great work. It should be a recognition that you are taking a higher level of responsibility, and with this, you're getting also higher compensation. And I think some companies get it wrong. So first, they just give promotions very easily in the first few years because they want to reward people for working well, but then they don't have the budget anymore, and then it's becoming difficult. I think the reward should come in different ways. Maybe there are bonuses for performance of your product, their profit participation. I actually think that company profit participation is one of the best way how you can encourage people and reward them for great work overall without necessarily putting them on a promotion train. How we work at Product People is that we expect people to meet 100% of competencies for the next level. In different companies, I saw usually something between 80% to 100% of the competencies for the next level. Why is it important? Because if you don't do that, if you're actually only meeting half of the responsibilities for the next level and you're getting at the next level, then you are realizing in real life the Peter principle. So people in hierarchy tend to rise to a level of the incompetence. So you just rise because you were doing the good job on your current level, but then at some level you cannot do good job anymore because you were not ready. So that's usually leads to bad performance for the whole organization and also not such a good experience for you. There should be some emotional and also skills readiness of the employee. More responsibility comes with some emotional aspects. And you need to have a confirmation from your line manager and probably someone who is senior. So these are the important components usually. What's important to mention though here is that you are in the driver's seat for this to happen. Not your line manager, not the C-level, not someone else in your team. This is really, really you who can drive it. And I think it's a good and a bad thing together, right? On one hand, we all would like that someone comes to us with a present and just says, okay, now it's happening, congratulations. That's maybe not so great thing, but the great thing is that you can have a lot of influence on making it happen. If it's not happening to you and you would like this to happen, you can do it. Step 0. Check if this is the right place. Are you genuinely want to stay? Because as I said, yeah, there is an approach that you look around and get a higher position elsewhere in a different company. Maybe that's actually preferred in your case. But in case that you like your company, you like the culture, you like the product, you want to see it grow further, then probably you want to stay here. Try to be realistic. Is promotion possible? What's the state of the company financially? Do you think that they will be giving promotions? Try to ask your manager, ask around, like, get understanding of the land. Figure out what's really important to you so that in case you need to negotiate the terms of your promotion, you know what is more important. So for some people, it's more important that they get a recognition of their higher seniority by a more senior title. For other people, salary might be really, really important. Maybe there are some other benefits. Maybe you're not asking exactly for more salary, but other ways that you can get compensation. And reflect with yourself, are you ready to take more responsibility? As I said, emotional maturity, emotional readiness for the promotion is very important. Now, the steps from 1 to 5. We went through step 0 as a preparation. First is understanding the leveling and the promotion conditions in your company. then you need to do your work. So you do need to perform well at your current level and fulfill the expectations that exist for your current level. If you are new to your level, it's unreasonable to expect that you will get promotion to the next level in 6 months. Probably 6 months to 12 months will just take you to become confident in doing the skills that you're expected or doing the things you're expected at this level. Then you try to reach to the next one, right? You go beyond, you grow your skills, grow higher competencies. And I'm giving here some timeline. This, of course, depends a lot on the type of company you're at, pace, and so on. But I would say between 1 to 2 years is normal time for you to develop more complex skills and become more confident in the next level competencies. Fourth is get people on your side. Your work and the competencies should be visible to other people. It should include your line manager, includes your peers and stakeholders, also higher management if possible. Ideally, you want this also documented. And then in the end, you build a promotion case. Steps 2, 3, and 5 really need documentation. If you have this only in your head, it will be very hard for you to make a convincing case. You need to have achievements documented. You need to have feedback and testimonials documented from your peers and also prepare actual promotion case. I'll talk a bit in more specifics about these points and show you a couple of examples, and very happy to go deeper in any of these points that you find challenging at your company. First, there should be some level and matrix at your company, ideally for any position that you have, but you mostly care about your own, the product managers. So if you don't have one, do talk to your management and do try to convince them that this should happen. And maybe you need to make a first draft. What should be there? What skills are expected at what level for each seniority, right? How much you should be able to drive the roadmap, how well you should be able to write the user stories, how complicated projects you can take on, these things. If there is no matrix, as I said, be the one to propose it. And there are starting points in the internet, or ChatGPT is also now a great help to help you build the first draft. Come with the first draft to your management and see how they can help you move it forward. These are the competencies that we use at Product People to understand and rate the seniority of our product management consultants. For each of these competencies, we have a description how developed this is for a specific seniority level. The competencies are scope and ambiguity, so how broad scope for the product or product feature can this person take. As an example, yeah, for junior to mid-level people, we expect that they are able first to be responsible for a feature, then maybe a set of features, then with more seniority for a product, and then with very senior people for several products and portfolio of products. Second is product management methods and tools. Third is commercial leadership. I think this is very, very important and sometimes overlooked, but it's critical. Your product needs to be business viable. Otherwise, that doesn't just make sense as a business. Fourth is execution, project management skills, prioritization. 5 is mentoring and people management. 6, collaborative leadership and delegation. Here maybe also a bit vague, so I want to explain a little bit. This is about how you work with other people and how much complexity you can take on the people collaboration level. And for junior to mid-level people, this is working with your team, with engineers, with fellow PMs. But as you become more senior, you're expected to be able to work across many departments and eventually also work directly with senior leadership on the topics of your responsibilities. And the last one, communication and influencing people. We also have a behavioral rubric and principles. This is something that's expected from everyone. So how product management consultants, the product people, are expected to behave. And this is a prerequisite. So you should be able to show these behaviors consistently throughout from a very junior level. This is how it looks like. I guess you don't see this super well, but maybe a little bit. This is just a small part of the competencies. We use Notion. That's why this is just a screenshot from Notion. You see level 1 is a product management intern, and then the first, you will not see the pointer. So the first is product scope and ambiguity level. The second is product management methods and tools. And there is description. As you see, it is described in detail for each seniority level separately. Now we move into the second point. So you have understood what needs to be done. And importantly, you know what is expected from you at the level you're at and for the next level. For the level you're at, you need to be doing your work, and it would be great if you start gathering feedback for your work. So you have goals that are documented, that you have aligned also with your line manager or whoever is important to align them with, and you do regular reflections of how these goals are being met. You use performance reviews strategically. I know many companies, or I think most companies, have some version of performance reviews, performance cycles, but not everyone of the employees actually feels that they are beneficial for them. Some people think, this is just some bureaucracy I need to do. But I think it's the opposite. Is actually your way, is supported by the company, to gather and document feedback. You need to think who you include, who you ask the feedback from, and it's important that it's not only your peers, but also more senior people, and ideally also some cross-functional stakeholders if you work with cross-functional stakeholders. Ideally, you would give people a heads up that you will be asking them for feedback and maybe give them some points so they don't necessarily remember what you did with them half a year ago. So you need to be the one who reminds, say, this is the 3 things I would like you to point out there. We worked on this project together, we worked on this project together, and this one. Maybe you remember that they gave you some positive feedback verbally or somewhere in Slack. Remind them about this and say, you gave this positive feedback to me. It would be great if you can put this also in my performance review. And then you want to follow up and make sure that they actually write their reviews. This is how then you get documented feedback. If your review cycles are very rare, and some companies just do it once a year, which I think is very, very rare for product manager role, you probably want to have feedback at least once a quarter. Then you can work with your line manager to collect it outside of the performance cycle. You can just make a Google form, right, and ask your manager to go to people who you identified and ask them to write feedback. Moving on to the points 3 and 4. This is where you start growing your skills for the next level, and you need to make your work visible to others. Do definitely discuss with your manager how to do it the best. You have aligned the competencies, you know where you need to go. Now, how to do it in real life? What does it mean that you show higher ability to manage ambiguity, or more communication skills? Like what exactly this would translate to in your company? Is there a specific project you can do? Is there some responsibility you can take on? Do discuss with them, document, and then regularly see how you're completing this agreed goals. Be creative if you need. Maybe for growing some things, it's hard inside of the company to do it, so they will not give you more responsibility before you're actually promoted, but can you then somehow differently prove that you have developed this competency? Maybe you can do a course, maybe you can help other people, mentor, colleague, help with some project, do part-time on some other project, and again, make sure to document this. Maybe there are some opportunities outside of your company. Maybe you can do a side project that will be somehow recognized by your company. This needs to be reviewed with your line manager, but this is possible. And for sure, make your progress visible. We already spoke a bit on the previous point on the one hand, and the previous point of having this feedback documented is helpful for your current level, but also for the promotion case. It's great if you have some mentors inside of the company who can also help you and can then, again, provide feedback to you. And also doing presentations internally, some kind of sharing sessions, workshops, and so on in your company can be a great way to create more visibility with the work you've been doing. And of course, talking more internally about the work that your team has been doing and what impact it has will create more visibility for you. Finally, hopefully you've been going through the previous steps and you feel like I'm getting very close to fulfilling the expectations for the next level, so it's time to make a promotion case. Again, remember, you're in the driver's seat, so you're the one to prepare the promotion case, not your line manager. You're the one to put this documentation and show it to your line manager and say, here, I think I am very close to being ready for promotion. Explain how you're meeting the expected next level competencies with some examples, ideally with testimonials. Again, here, this is where feedback from others, from your peers, from the performance cycle plays a role. And do help your manager help you. So ask your line manager, how can I help you to present this to higher management? What is the process? What do you need to go through? Do you need any additional support for my case? What will make it easier for you to vouch for me? And maybe they don't have the answer right away, but if you give it some time to think about it and you get back to this a few times, then definitely you'll find a good way to present your promotion case. That's a small example from product people as well. I tried to remove all the critical information. I hope that's still true. Yeah, this is a part of the promotion case. So what we do here is for each of these competencies are in the first row. And the second row, there are explanations. So this is exactly the ones I showed you previously in the matrix for levels. And then we have a status. So now this is achieved here because it's a promotion case. So actually all the competencies have been met. But during the development, this is maybe in progress, for example. And then examples part has the explanations of what are the examples of the person meeting the expectations. They sometimes can also be quotes or references to some external resources where some feedback exists. Now let's cover a couple of don'ts. Hopefully you remember the 5 things you need to do as do's by what you should not be doing. This is at least my opinion that you should not be doing. Counter offer. I would never recommend you to try to get a promotion by coming to your line manager and saying, this company offered me XYZ position and XYZ salary. I want you to promote me, otherwise I will leave. I think that's very close to blackmail. Most people don't like it, and this will definitely damage the relationship you will have with your line manager and also with the company. And even if you get a promotion this way, the future, they will remember. And if they need to do a layoff at some point or decide between several people to get something, then probably you will be at a disadvantage. Just annoying your manager. I've seen this behavior a few times. When the person just comes to each one-on-one and says, so how about my promotion? I feel I should be promoted, but doesn't do anything of the things I told you above, right? Just nothing really helpful, just being annoying. I think that doesn't help, again, damages relationship with your manager. And just this question without anything, like trying to make a plan, doesn't really help you. Instead, do try to help your line manager to help you. That's the end of my talk. I was also very efficient as the previous speaker, so I think we have more time for the questions. And yeah, do please connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to send you slides if you ask me for the slides. Curious what you think about my advice and whether you have some challenges that you experience that we can discuss together now. Thank you. I saw Mike has a question.
Thank you. Okay, now it works. So I think there's a lot of controversy around career ladders in product management because there's engineering, and in engineering, obviously, you have the principal engineers and distinguished engineers, and you can get to up to a VP level by being individual contributor. Very few product companies do that, and I quite often hear from PMs that they have to become managers very early in their career, or if they change companies, they kind of will be stuck at a certain role, usually staff PM, and there will be no opportunity to go beyond that. You obviously work with hundreds, if not thousands of companies, so I'm kind of curious if you're seeing any changes among your customers, how they are looking at this. Do you see the role of individual contributor PM sort of being more recognized and that as a viable promotion sort of direction?
Great, thanks for a question, Mike. So the question is around becoming a people manager with higher levels or staying individual contributor for product manager specialization, whether it's happening, possible, what are some considerations I have. It's still hundreds of clients, so sorry, not maybe not, I don't know every company in Europe even yet, but I do see that companies have high levels like principal PM for sure as individual contributors. I think the titles become a bit blurry around this space as well. So sometimes principal is the level of the salary of the head, or what is group PM can also be very questionable. Sometimes it's a people manager role, sometimes it's individual contributor role. So they are definitely high paying jobs with high seniority expectations for product managers. I have not included this controversy in this presentation because I think it's quite a complicated area. And my advice generally is to, for the management of the company, think what kind of company we want to be. what kind of product we have and what seniority do we actually need, or what competencies do we actually need on the senior management roles to make our company and our product successful. Because some products are actually not that complicated. So yeah, you can keep someone being an individual contributor, but it's already hard to make their role really challenging and complex, because just the product is quite simple. It's enough to manage it with mid-level PMs and then have someone who helps them do the right thing, coaches them, and so on. So it's really people manager role is required, but everything else is not really necessary. Then the question, I think, also is who's responsible for product strategy and how much do you need some product leadership to take this, or there's actually someone from our business side, maybe CEO, who has a pretty strong vision that aligns with best product principles. And again, you don't need a lot of management in the product. These are difficult questions. I think for many companies, this is tricky. We have had this conversation at Product People. At some point, we are an agency or consultancy, however you want to call it. And we discussed whether we want to have these very expensive individual contributors who only do work for clients, but they don't manage anyone. And we decided that at this point, this is business-wise not so interesting for us. Much better fit for us are people who want to train other product managers, who want to coach them, because this is how we educate people for free. I mean, some of the time of our consultants go into this, but if they're interested, that's an enjoyable part of their work. And we have people from mid-level PMs who take responsibility for someone, so who have reports. They then have junior, we call them associate product managers, who report to them, and so on. So everyone almost is a people manager. And that's also an interesting point, because I think on one hand, some PMs are afraid or don't want to become people managers, and they say that I don't want to grow in my career because I don't want to become people manager. On the other side, there are other people who already, when they're senior product managers, they do want to coach someone, they do want to share their knowledge, and that's oftentimes not clearly possible because they are not able to get reports. If this is a case for any of you, I would recommend you just look for mentoring opportunities either inside of your company. There are probably junior people or people who want to switch to product, help them, or look for some mentorships outside that will fulfill this interest, and I think it's also valid interest. Or look for a company where from earlier stages there is a possibility to have reports who you can train.
Thank you. At the beginning of the conference, Anna has shared that there are also a lot of junior people here from the product space. So just wanting to address that spectrum of the audience as well. Many of them might not have the performance levels expectations set up for them. So what would you recommend to them? How do they get more familiar of requirements and expectations of the upper levels so that they can focus even though they don't have that set up for them?
Great question. Thanks, Boris. So far, only people who know me are asking questions, but I encourage everyone who doesn't know me yet or who haven't spoken with also ask. So what I would recommend if you have come to a company and you were not told that there are specific expectations, you were hired, like you're given a title and that you left alone. First, I would definitely ask your line manager, whoever they are, is there something? Maybe they say there is something, but it's kind of very old, but still you can have a look at this, or they say there is nothing. Depending on this, you go with some next steps. If there is nothing or something that's not really formalized, very old, no one's really looking at this, then I would ask your line manager, I'm interested to make this a more clear structure of expectations for myself, first of all, but I also think for other product managers in the companies will be helpful. How can we do this? Is it fine if I bring you some draft and then we work on this? Hopefully they say, sure, bring me a draft and we can look at this. Then you work on a draft. As I said, ChatGPT will help you already, I think even the free version, to make a first matrix, just say competency matrix for product managers, levels from product manager to senior product manager to whatever you have titles, head of product. and you'll get something, and maybe that's the first try. Then there are many articles on the internet which explain how in different companies this is done. Sometimes there are even examples of these matrices. Sometimes it's more just general explanation, but you can go start with this. You can take as an example the one I showed you from Product People, 7 competencies that we have there. Maybe this is your starting point, and then again with ChatGPT try to fill in the content. Discuss with your line manager. Next important thing is that not only your line manager should agree that these are the competencies, but somehow you need to make it public in the company and make it that your senior leadership agrees. And for this, you will definitely need help of your line manager or some other senior stakeholders, but this is possible. Again, if you make the most of work for them, if you actually bring something that looks quite reasonable, probably it's pretty fast to get an approval, and then you have this set in stone. It's important that it's not only between you and your line manager, because when you ask for promotion, senior leadership will have to approve. And if they have not approved what's expected, then they can say, oh, but we expected something different. Whatever this person did doesn't fit with our expectations. So they need to say, yeah, we agree with these expectations, and then you know what you need to be working on. Hope this helps. More questions? Yes?
Hello, thank you for the lovely presentation. I have a question for people. It's not directly related to promotion, but I believe you will be able to answer it. So for people who are maybe in project management, or they are QS or some other role, but they want to transfer to product role, like product owner or product manager, what would you recommend for those people? Like how they can convince the management in their company, or the management or the HR manager in another company, that they are capable? Because we'll assume that they have the theoretical knowledge for product management. So how they can convince their managers or the managers in another company that they are capable to accept the PO or PM role?
Sure, thank you very much for the question. It is connected a lot with this leveling discussion, because if the company has some kind of leveling metrics and they have explanation of what expected as competencies from product manager, and you can get access to this, that's great. And this is your starting point, right? You look at the competencies and you say, okay, this I actually can do, and this I can do, right? And this is maybe one area where I'm not so prepared yet, let me prepare, and then I also can explain. And if you're doing this internally, I think just relating to this kind of description of the role is the best way you convince. You can show how you're already able to do this role, and maybe if you're missing points, you can explain how you're gonna learn them. Challenge will happen if there's no description of the role. If there are some open roles on the internet for these positions, and you're applying for a different company, then this is what you have to use. You need to look at what they're expecting, right, and think, what can I do from this? Maybe you struggle to understand sometimes, am I able to do this or not? Because they use the terminology that you don't know. For this, I would advise to get a bit more into terminology of product management, but this can be done relatively cheap and quick. I would say the great courses on Udemy, for example, like Introduction to Product Management, going through this course, maybe 10, 15 hours, you understand all the core the terminology, and then you start understanding how the things you were doing are similar to this job, and then you can give the examples. So when you talk to a hiring manager or recruiter first, what you need to do is to explain how you have already the skills and competencies for this role. Practical example from my life. So when I applied to Product People, I did not really have a product manager role before formally. But I could explain how I did things that were very similar. First, my previous job was in sales, so many things were very transferable, collecting user feedback, talking to the customer, being the voice of customer. We were a small company, so they didn't have specialized roles for this. I was actually a voice of customer because I spoke to them. That was one aspect. Then I also there gained some more insights into business, so how we make prioritization. We have many requests from the customers, how we decide what to do and what not to do. Then I had some examples from my outside of work activities as well. I was organizing many science communication events in Munich, in Germany. And I could make a case how organizing events can be seen as product management because these were regular events every month. So we did a lot of iterations. We collected feedback from the attendees at the end of each event, and we analyzed this. If one person said pizza was terrible, but everyone else said pizza was great, then we could make some data-driven decision that the pizza was actually fine. But then there were some things that were repeated by multiple people, and we tried to fix them, and then we iterated again. We had to work with limited resources because we had a small team. We could not do all the great ideas that we had, so we had to prioritize. I also had to, because I was leading the team, I had to learn how to influence without authority, which is a great skill for product manager as well. We were all volunteers, and people would only work with me if they actually enjoyed doing this and will only listen to me if I find a way how to find some consensus or convince them. So these were my examples of how I know many things, how I have transferable skills that will make me a good product manager, and the things that I didn't know I was intending to learn on the job because it was a junior position.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
Hi. Hi, my name is Alex, and I'd like to ask you from the other side, because I'm this bad guy who don't want to promote any product manager in my company.
Me too,
And,
so don't worry, I
and
understand.
I can explain why. Okay, for me, if this guy works good and everything works good, I don't have any reason to promote him. Yeah, for me, it means that he is exactly and 100% on the right position in my company, and I have a value, I have benefits from that. And if this product manager want to be promoted, he have to explain me why do I need to do it? Yeah, because I have my clients, I have my investors, I have my partners, and any this promotion means that I have to spend more finance budget for him, and I have to explain to my partners why I do it. So if this guy can explain me what additional value this company will have from this promotion, yeah, I will do it. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yes, this was not a question, but a great comment. Thank you very much. This definitely adds more real-life complexity to what I said. What I said is simplistic in some ways. And here are a couple of things related to what you said, Alex. Thanks. One, the leadership has the final say whether they even want to promote people at all in any near future, and they might decide to not to do it. And this is not because you're doing a bad job, but as you just heard, there is no viable business reason to do this. We are not creating more complex products. We are not really growing something in a new market. So like there's no added complexity that we envision the next year. We don't need someone who is more senior. This is right. Do you agree with my phrasing? Yeah. And this is where it was step 0, right? You need to understand what kind of company you have. If it's a smaller company, they will probably have more constraints, but sometimes actually the opposite. So kind of understand where your company is at and where your leadership is thinking about this, whether they're interested in people promoting at all. As a leadership, you should also be aware that people might then want to decide to leave a company at some point because they want to get promoted, they want to have more responsibility, work on more complex things. If there's nothing at the company, then they might leave, which is also fine. I think it's fair as long as you are aware of this, you prepare, and then you know how to hire next person quickly or work with product people who can help you while you're hiring. I think that's all fine. And ideally, as Alex just highlighted, when you're making a promotion case, you also highlight how making this promotion is beneficial for the company.
Yeah. You hear me? Okay. Yeah. Okay. One more comment. In my company, if we made a great product, we can split it into the different company, and it's opportunities for the product manager to become a more high-level position. And yeah, and we have a practice to provide some notes for this new company for the product. Yeah, to motivate this guy. But it's always about financial issues. Yeah, because we need to understand how these changes can make our revenue or profit more and better for the whole company. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
We can talk more in the coffee chat. Definitely, as a chief operating officer, I'm also very much engaged in the financial conversations and how we plan. And we have also very special business that's not very scalable, or it's hard to predict how we scale. So we have also all these considerations, and whether we should raise salaries, or how long should we keep people in working on their promotion case until we approve it, and all of that. That are not easy decisions for sure. Any more questions? There is one, yes. Third from row from the end. Yeah, that's you, yes.
Hi. So you mentioned in the presentation that it's important to set goals and do regular reflections with your line manager. Do you have like a good practice examples of those goals, or how to approach that?
Right, I will try to give you an example, and you tell me if I need to give another one. In one of my interim roles, I was head of product, so I was responsible for multiple product managers, and one of the product managers wanted to make a case that they should be promoted from mid-level to senior level. I think it was senior to lead, actually. Senior to lead product manager. And we looked at the competencies. The company had competencies in a quite decent shape. And then we discussed which things already quite well he showed. And then there was something that we did have good examples to show how he can lead this, like some cross-functional, relatively big project. And this was expected. So then we looked at the things that he had in the backlog, right, in opportunities, and we discussed which of these projects would be most beneficial to show this. This was then selected for the implementation. And then we discussed some practical smaller things, like what does it mean that he would show good performance in this project? He would do regular alignments, regular presentations to the company, like some specific actions inside of it, not only actually build this feature, but also how to build visibility and so on. And these were very practical steps. So it was easy then to say, this is how this person has showed being able to run the project, complete it, and also this is known to other people. And then, yeah, we also gathered feedback from the peers or stakeholders who were involved, and this was also important. Sometimes maybe if we talk about communication skills, then very simple also goals could be give 2 talks in the next half a year at some local meetups, at Serbian product community, at something at a conference, or maybe we start with internally. Maybe this depends also how senior you are already. Cool, are there more questions? If not, before we move on, may I take a picture with you? You don't want your face to be seen on LinkedIn later, you can cover your face.
Thank you, Victoria. You touched a very hot topic, as we could have seen from the questions as well. Thank you for that. I just have one more question for you until you leave the stage, and then we will let people go to the lunch. How much do you think that all this that you showed depends on the culture of the working and in general how business is being done in the country? Because let me give you an example. The first time I've seen performance matrices, I got introduced into the difference between individual contributor and people managers was when I entered the Nordeus, which is quite an international company. Before that, I was in a product and I worked in more or less domaća firma, domestic company, and we are in a country where product as a profession is not so developed. So all these things would be useful if it actually went to that level. So how can we work that out?
Right. the question is, does it depend on the culture in the country, also work culture in certain country and culture of product? Definitely it does. Can only say yes. You're right. The many practices like performance reviews come to us mostly from very developed corporate organizations of US, for example, which one of the first to build these big international organizations. They had many people and have somehow to figure out how to structurally work with these people. And I think it's important that you first make a decision in what culture you want to work. And it's fine to decide, I actually don't like this structured stuff. I think we should be like a family. I should get promoted.
Please don't say that.
I have no judgment. Some people like it. I would not commit to another family. I already have one.
Exactly.
Yeah, but no judgment. I think it's more important to be mindful about this. But if you want to be in a company that is more structured and your current company is not, first you can explore whether it's possible to do. And as I said, talking to your management, that usually would lead you somewhere. Most cases, people just never ask about this and have this discussion. And then second, of course, they don't have extra time to do this, to make this happen. But if you like your company in many aspects, and this is one that's missing, I think putting in work to help them create this, it's going to be worth your while.
Very much true. You mentioned a couple of things that I was hoping to hear back from you, so thank you very much. I mean, it is definitely an important topic. One more time, applause for Viktoria. Yeah.